The only people for me are the mad ones.
The world is filled with the boring and the barely conscious.
The misery loves company.
But we don't have to live this way.
Jessica and I are here to talk to those the system rejects, to radicals and thought criminals.
The ones who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but push the boundaries of acceptable discourse.
Those who stare reality in the face and dare it to be different.
History isn't made by the timid, and fun is not had by the perpetually afraid.
We are the mad ones.
So let's get to it.
Welcome to the Mad Ones. I'm your whatever the opposite of a skinwalker, as I believe the word is fat boy, host Cam Harless. And with me, as always, is the only gardening hobbit that I will have anything to do with, Miss Jessica Green. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm fine. I knew my intro would have something to do with hobbitry.
I hate hobbits, and you know why.
No.
It's one specific.
I know why. I know. But, you can't be racist against my people. We're not all represented by Sean Astin.
I disagree with this. I will be racist based on whatever I determine is good enough. And Sean Astin dropped my motorcycle. So
that's what you get for letting a hobbit ride your motorcycle in the first place.
It really is on me in a big way. But he still could have not been a dick. I mean, but before we introduce our guest, because we're going to talk about cryptids. We're going to talk about mythical creatures tonight. But before I introduce her, I do want to say, hey, we have a new partnership. Run Your Mouth Coffee. Ben and John, you may know John from Lions of Liberty, that podcast. You may know Ben from Homesteads and Homeschools. They have a little coffee business that they do called Run Your Mouth Coffee, which is rymcoffee.com. And they have I got the bourbon barrel aged coffee, and it doesn't just smell good. It tastes great. But if you go to rymcoffee.com and use the promo code The Mad Ones, you get 10% off. So Lorenzotti's gone. Stocks are gone for Lorenzotti. I'm sorry to say, but we have more coffee for you. So with that, let us turn to our guest. Let's bring on the cryptid expert. Joining us tonight is a force of nature on Twitter, a resin artist, a builder of phallus-shaped lamps, a woman known as Rebel Scum Han, woman who just loved jorts made of thunder, and the exclusive bartender to your favorite mythical creature, Harley, the Cryptid Bartender.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'll just pretend I didn't have a narcoleptic episode literally right before y'all started recording.
Well, I'll be honest. I want to talk about cryptids, but I also want to talk about narcolepsy just for a touch, because that is not something I have. So, I mean, that's interesting. Is it hard being narcoleptic? Like, how hard is it?
That honestly really depends, because it is very case by case. Some people, they'll just have the excessive sleepiness and maybe some extra vivid dreams, and that's about it. Others will legit have multiple sleep attacks a day. Like 1 minute they're fine, and all of a sudden they're asleep for 10 minutes, and then 2 hours go by and they're doing it again. And it really, some people, and there's different types as well. And so, yeah, it's really case by case. For me, yeah, it absolutely sucks. But
what type do you have? Do you have like the vivid dreams?
Oh, yes. I have type 1, which includes body paralysis and yes. So yeah. Earlier when I was sitting down breathing, I was like, that's what I was trying to prevent, paralysis. But do you get like this? I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm just really interested in this. I've never talked to a narcoleptic before. So do you get like the sleep paralysis where you'll severely see... Yes.
Okay. Do you see visions when you're having the sleep paralysis? If this is okay for you to talk about,
I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it at all.
Okay.
I do. I get major sleep paralysis, and a lot of people with sleep paralysis, it's just like, yeah, I was laying in bed and I couldn't move, and I saw like a little shadow in the corner. For most people, that's kind of how it is. When I say I get it severely, I'm talking like extreme vivid dreams where I'm like being hunted and all kinds. I mean, I've had just the weird little spookiness in the corner times, but it's usually far more vivid and dramatic than that. And yeah, it can get very intense.
Wowza.
I just want to say, you're not supposed to say narcoleptic, Jessica. That's racist. You have to say a person of narcolepsy.
Just call me a fucking narc. That's all you got.
I didn't know there was a woke term for it. I'm sorry.
Well, when you can make up anything, I do. That's what I'm
fair
here
enough. For. So I only have nightmares because I smoked pot chronically for over 20 years. And I've only begun to dream again in the last like 2 weeks. And it's terrifying. And the only dreams that I have are like severely scary nightmares, which I'm told this is going to fade for me after, you know, like my body gets used to the new state of things. But yeah, so that really interests me, someone that kind of like lives in that state, because it's it puts me into depression, and it made me like, I cried for a whole day because of the dream that I had the night before was so scary. And I didn't like know how to process what were essentially like vivid hallucinations. And yeah, so that's why I started like looking into it, and I found out about like sleep paralysis, and then these things called paralysis demons, which are, I guess, these like shadowy figures that will either like sit on top of you or sit at the end of your bed, or I guess in the corner of your room, like just being generally terrifying. And so, yeah, that's it's sort of interesting that you crossed my path with this sort of right when I started. I'm not experiencing the sleep paralysis demon thing, but I am having dreams that are so scary that like I'm not used to dreaming. So in the dream, I don't know that I'm dreaming.
Right.
I just am there.
Yes.
And it's horrifying.
How
do you cope?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I only just recently started using marijuana and cannabis myself. Like this year. Yeah. So I mean, I started taking it because I've been told it'll help with sleep, it'll help keep the sleep paralysis away, etc. And I had a very traumatic incident in the beginning of this year. And so my sleep paralysis and everything got significantly worse because of it. And I was told by many people, like, start smoking, start doing marijuana, take, you know, I already tried CBD oil in the past. I didn't really feel like it helped all that much, to be honest.
Right.
But I was told, like, just start smoking it straight or do edibles or something, and that'll help keep it away. So I did pick up on that to help, and it helps a bit. It does.
Okay.
But I do have kind of over the top levels of sleep paralysis compared to other. Only 25% of narcoleptics actually experience sleep paralysis. So so it's really not even that common to begin with. So it's a little difficult to cope just because it's not well understood. And so, like you mentioned, the demons, you know, they'll feel like it's something on their chest or at the foot of their bed. There are actually a great deal of cryptids and abduction stories that are theorized to be related to sleep paralysis. And so, it's just to give you an idea. I didn't hear of sleep paralysis until I was about 18, 19 years old. And I actually heard about it thanks to a UFO documentary explaining how it might be connected to UFO abductions. And so I looked into it, and there was like no information. It was just like, yeah, some people have it for some reason. Like that was all the info I was finding. So I'm like, okay, so for some reason I get it, I guess, because this matches what I've been going through since I was like 7 years old. And now we know it's
7?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry. I just can't imagine a poor little 7-year-old baby going through that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's horrifying. And so there was no information. There was no connection. It was just like, yeah, some people get this sometimes. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I get this. And it wasn't until about 6-7 years later, I saw this article about how it's usually connected to narcolepsy. And not very long after that, I had a medical genetic reading done and discovered it was saying type 1 narcolepsy over and over and over and over again. I'm like, what the hell? So I started looking into it. But just to give you an idea, that was only like a few years ago that I even knew this was a thing. So there really was no coping. There's still no coping because it's just not well understood yet.
Right, right. The dream that I had that put me into a state where I was like in tears all day was a demon pressing me down and holding me down, and said very clearly to me, there's nothing you can do to stop me. And in my head all day long, just the words and the voice were ringing in my head. And it was so vivid that I would just like start crying. Because like I said, I haven't dreamed for 20 years.
Oh no, when it feels that real, it's horrifying.
Yeah. So you said that the weed is helping you, like it's tampering your dreams down a little bit.
Yes, I haven't had as many paralysis episodes lately. I still dream very vividly. That has not stopped by any means, but the actual paralysis itself hasn't been happening as much.
Okay, well that's a blessing, as much as it
sure.
is. Yeah. Okay.
I knew a lady when I was a kid who was not narcoleptic but epileptic, and thus wasn't allowed to drive. Is that the same with? Okay, I was just curious. It seems like it would be a very dangerous thing to do.
Yes, I've had multiple incidences where I've randomly passed out at school, at work. Like, it is, a lot of my symptoms are emotion induced. And when I say emotion, it's like stress is usually the big one, but that's because stress is such a stronger emotion just kind of on its own, and it can be triggered by excitedness, like, oh my God, I'm so stoked right now, and I just paralyzed. It can be extreme sadness, shock. Like, I mean, there have been times, I heard some kind of news like, hey, your father just is in a coma, and I just lost complete feeling of the lower half of my body and just dropped to the floor. Wow. So yes, so it is. I don't even have a driver's license. Like, it's a legit potential threat for everybody around.
Yeah. Well, that's understandable. I wonder if it has something to do with blood pressure, that because you'll experience a spike in blood pressure, that maybe that it won't be available to your brain.
I guess what it is it's I can't think of the name, but it's caused by a decrease in a certain hormone that's normal in our bodies. So like when we just don't produce the same amount as other people, it's like way less. And so that's actually what triggers a narcolepsy, and the paralysis stuff is called cataplexy. It can actually, you mentioned epilepsy. Cataplexy can resemble epilepsy. So oftentimes they're actually misdiagnosed as each other, because sometimes it's not just paralysis, it's also convulsions, which I've had as well. So yeah, I do not drive.
Yeah.
I could see in the past, before medical science became available, before we could do MRIs and hormone testing, that this is very much a source of where these like cryptid stories would come from.
Absolutely. The Tokolosh is a likely example. That's an African one. And but yeah, definitely alien abductions, demons, the succubus and incubus legends are theorized to likely be from that.
Well, yeah. I want to get into cryptids, but before that, I bought the dumbest thing, and I just wanted, I want to try this. I want to try this live. These are moonshine pickles.
Yeah,
it's a surprisingly low alcohol volume for moonshine.
Well, that's lame.
It's like 40 proof. Like, what is that?
So you also have to do a shot of the juice.
Oh, I absolutely will. I have two glasses here. Because I also bought some Uncle Nearest bourbon. No, it's not bourbon. It's just whiskey. It's a Tennessee whiskey. Uncle Nearest, interesting enough, for the longest time, Jack Daniel and the Jack Daniel's distillery claimed that he learned how to become a master distiller through the guy he worked for named Call before him. However, it came out several years ago that he actually learned everything that he knew and how to distill whiskey from an ex-slave named Nathan Nearest Green, I believe. I think he shares a last name with Jessica. So maybe you should repent, Jessica. Maybe your ancestors were bad.
My ancestors were bad, but for different reasons.
But I find it interesting because it's distilled. It's a whiskey that's based on the recipes back then, and based on apparently on some form of his. And it's the first whiskey named after a black man. So I was like, hey, that's interesting enough to try. I hope it's not terrible. But I'm going to try this pickle. You ask questions, and I'm just going to emote as I eat this damn pickle.
So, I guess where I was going with that is that because these visions tend to have a similarity between them, very much like the sitting on the chest is something like I experienced that, and then I went looking online and was like, oh, this is something people have experienced for hundreds of years. This exact sensation of being held down by a scary figure who sometimes says things to you, sometimes doesn't. And that really makes a lot of sense to me that indeed this might be the source of where some of these cryptid stories come from. Can you expand on that? You had mentioned like an African story. Do you know anything about that, or is that connected to sleep paralysis? Or
it's theorized that there's a possibility. Basically, the tokoloshe is it's an African cryptid, and it's like a little spirit demon creature type thing. And basically how they're created, according to legend, is you have to find like a witch doctor, and she will kill somebody for you, and she'll use like this magic powder to turn a dead person into this tokoloshe. And basically it shrinks, it gets kind of disfigured. Well, you already mentioned phallus. Can I continue? It has to do with phallus. Sweet.
Yeah,
okay. Apparently these have a massive schlong that they got to sling over their shoulders. And
all right. And so it's not all bad to get turned into a tokoloshe. You get a monster dong.
You're hung like a horse afterwards. So I guess, worse things could happen. But people will report feeling them on their chest. Or
like the schlong.
Well, I mean, I guess that would be included. Oh God, can you imagine how horrible that must be? You wake up and there's this little like gnome thing, and he just has this massive
donkey dong.
Yes, and he's just climbing up your bed with it slung over his shoulder, trying not to slap you with it, but you're going to get slapped with it, because how can you not? Like how big it is, and you're just like, maybe that's why they weren't moving, because they're like, oh God, I don't even want to touch that. If I move, if I budge wrong, that's gonna fall, it's gonna land on me. Like, oh my God, what do I do?
Oh my God.
Imagine waking up in the middle of the night and there's just this giant dong holding you down, and you can't get up, you can't move because there's a giant penis on your chest. It tastes like a pickle. It's by the way, it's just
not like
that thing.
I mean, not the tokoloshe's dick, the moonshine pickle. Yeah, it just tastes like a pickle, smells like pickle. I mean, there's a little bit of an alcohol feel.
I mean, honestly, you'd have to have an alcohol feel in the pickle in order to get me to eat a pickle. I don't like pickles.
It's not bad.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a pickle and pickle juice.
All right.
Okay.
So there you go.
I expected it to be more boozy.
Well, with moonshine, I like it. First off, I expect moonshine to be much higher proof.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect this when I bought it, because I saw the 40 proof, which is weak shit. But I expect it to be like 100, 110 proof, 120 proof when it's moonshine. Mm-hmm. And so I just expected it. So I've tried the moonshine, the strawberry moonshine. And if you eat one of those strawberries, your whole tongue goes numb.
I've had that before. I've actually made one of my cryptid cocktails with that.
Yeah. And so that makes your whole tongue go numb completely. And so it's like, I expected that. This is weak. It's just pickles. I mean,
that's disappointing.
I can't really, I mean, it's fine. I'll eat the whole bottle or jar eventually, but nothing to write home about. It's just a pickle.
Yeah. Aren't those like $20 a bottle or some shit too?
It was 15.
Damn.
Okay.
For pickles?
I was going to say, it's some expensive pickles.
Yeah. I make pickles in my backyard. Okay, so let's go back to the tokoloshe before I forget my train of thought here. So the tokoloshe reminds me quite a bit
Dick on the mind.
I do. I have a big schlong on the mind now. I have to focus.
I'm sorry. Okay, I always end up getting people to think about schlong, and either through my Etsy or something.
Right. No, oh my gosh, guys, check out her Etsy shop. Can you put the link up on the thingy, the ticker thingy? Her Etsy shop is amazing. She sells these dick lamps that are out of control awesome.
Her dick mold broke though.
Yeah, it's breaking. It's not quite there. I can probably get 1 or 2 uses out of it, but it's on its way. Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
F in the chat.
Yeah, F in the chat for the dick mold. So the Tokolosh story reminds me quite a bit of, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie or read the book Serpent of the Rainbow.
No.
It's about this Harvard professor who would go to these different tribal regions to get their medicines. And then they would take them back, they would analyze them in the lab, and they would actually be able to create like laboratory tested medicines for medical science from these tribal types of cures. And one thing they got from like the Andes jungle is the puffer fish poison from the blow darts that they would use for hunting. And they actually currently still use it, I think, in anesthetizing. I can't pronounce things. They anesthetize people. That's part of the ingredients that they use. So this guy went to Haiti to try to find the zombie powder that was supposed to put people into this state where their souls were shrunk down and put into a little jar. And you would get like a voodoo practitioner to like kill somebody, basically trapping their soul in this jar. And then they could be raised from the dead as the zombie. Now, this guy had gone to tribe after tribe all over the world and gotten their cures and come back. When he went to Haiti, he came back and was like, do not fuck with those people. That shit is real. And so there is something about hoodoo and voodoo that is like, this completely scientific secular scientist was like, do not fuck with this stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised, genuine. To be honest. Yeah. I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm not necessarily an instant believer, but I'm also not an instant skeptic. It's like, I've seen some weird crap that's technically unexplained. Lots of people have. So it's like, well, I don't know. Anything could be out there.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely things we don't have explanations for. So to think that like science has found everything, we know everything, it's not possible for there to be ghosts or whatever. Like, that's hubris, dude.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't know that. Yeah. But what reminded me of it was the jar, like that the practitioner would put someone's soul, shrink it down and put it into this jar.
Well, and you mentioned the powder too, to kind of turn them into a zombie. That's essentially what they are. They're essentially like these zombie spirit things. And I can't remember the exact like method, to be honest. I have a drink based off of it too, actually, but I'm just a little fuzzy on the details right now. But that does. What?
Does it have a hot dog in it as a stirrer for the drink?
No, it's got banana though.
Oh, there you go.
Even better. As far as girth and length go.
So the reason I want to talk about cryptids, and I also just want to talk about more specific ones, either somewhat today and later on. Okay. But I did a lot of I watched a lot and listened to a lot of true crime podcasts and stuff like that for a number of years. And I was always there for the cults. I was always there for the serial killers, for all that stuff. But I'd see the episodes about cryptids, and I was like, that's not what I'm here for. I want to hear about Pee Wee Gaskins. I want to hear about Ed Gein. I want to hear about what was what's the name of that? Shinrikyo, the Japanese cult, where they went out and killed a bunch of people, and it was part of their deal. That's what I wanted to hear about. But I was always like, oh, I'll check out Skinwalker Ranch later. But I need an introduction. And so what was your introduction to cryptids and your interest? What piqued your interest to get you there?
I feel like that's kind of a long story and also not. Like, I guess to be specific, I don't know. As a little kid, I was always really fascinated by wildlife. I wanted to be like the next like Steve Irwin or Jack Hanna, like that was my dream job. And so the idea of nature and creatures that we didn't quite understand, discovering them, it just like really clicked with me. And I want to say it was an episode, like a Halloween episode of Reading Rainbow. And they had some kind of, I think they had like a section on Bigfoot or something like that. I'm kind of like, wait. And I was like, that's kind of cool, And so the idea was in the back of my head. And to make it a longer story, I grew up in a very, very strict, like old-fashioned kind of church, essentially, where I was like taught, no, there's no monsters, there's no ghosts, there's absolutely no aliens. And I wasn't even allowed to like toy with the idea. I wasn't allowed to research anything on it. And so the wonder, like, okay, so I'm fascinated with the wildlife here, but what if there's wildlife out there. You know what I mean? Like that was in my head. But I wasn't allowed to pursue that knowledge like at all. So then drama, I'm no longer being told no. And I just dive bombed into all of it, like all the unknown. It wasn't just cryptids. It was cryptids and aliens and conspiracy theories and like just everything I just got sucked into. Because a lot of them do also connect with each other. You know, conspiracy theories, a lot of them do connect with various cryptids, not just the UFO stuff where a lot of cryptids were theorized to be aliens, you know? So it all just kind of circled around, and so you couldn't really escape any of it, but that was fine with me because it was like, ooh, that makes it more interesting, you know?
So if you had to give a primer to somebody who had never heard the word cryptid before and they said, what is that? What would you kind of say encompasses cryptids?
Honestly, I just say Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Mothman, Jersey Devil, because then they're like, oh, I've heard of those. Now I get what it means, you know, like just the animals that you don't really know about. Maybe they exist, maybe they don't.
So it's specifically meant to be animals, not necessarily like sentient creatures that would be more like people. So it wouldn't be vampires.
No, cryptids that depends on who you ask, to be honest.
What kind of vampire?
Well, I mean, like for instance, there is the Romani vampire watermelons, and they are literally they are what they sound. They are like Romani watermelon vampires, but they don't have like vampire mouths. They just want to suck your blood, but they can't suck your blood, so they just kind of roll around grunting after you and kind of headbutt you because that's all they can do. Those technically count as a cryptid. But
excuse me, I need to visit Google real quick.
Well, let me just hit this button because when I was searching for cryptids, I found this little guy called the Ningen, and this is my new favorite cryptid because what?
That's a very odd representation of it. I'm not gonna lie.
But I saw this.
Oh my god!
Quarter whale with human legs, and I was just like, hell yeah, this is my stuff. And I think I also find it funny that I'm like, I'm not really into cryptids, but I've got a cryptid on my arm.
Jackalope.
Yeah, I mean I'm a liar.
So straight up, it's a watermelon that or a gourd. It can be any kind of round.
Be a gourd. It could be a melon. Yeah.
But it's a vampire.
Yes.
Huh.
Okay, so here's what I need you to type in now, Jessica.
Oh no.
I need you to type in Kasa Obake, which is KASA -OBAKE. This is a Japanese cryptid or a ghost kind of. But it's an umbrella.
Get that away from me. Get it away. I do not. In the words of Maddie, I do not trust that thing. Get it off. Get it off the screen. We were talking when we had Maddie from Voluntary Vixens on. We were talking about Stalin and specifically that last photograph of him where he's got like black eyes. And we put it on the screen, and she was like, "Get that thing away from me!" Like you could tell it genuinely like struck her. That's the umbrella thing is not so scary, but some of these things, I can always tell when there's a little nugget of truth to like a ghost story or a monster story because I get kind of like like my skin raises up. I get goosebumps and like the hair on the back of my head raises up. And so with most of the things like Bigfoot and stuff like that, it's completely dead. But when you start talking about things like skinwalkers, something about the skinwalkers made every hair on my arm stand straight up in the air. I was like, get that away from me.
Oh yeah. I'm in skinwalker territory actually.
What do you know?
Tell us some skinwalker shit.
I don't have any skinwalker shit. I just know I'm in skinwalker area. So far I've been spared. But we'll see how long that lasts. Yeah.
That one to me strikes me as there is something actual going on there. And so I think that these things are demons, to be honest. Like that because they're manifestations that they're not good in any way. They're like terrifying, they kill stuff. So to me, they're manifestations of demons. But like, can you tell sort of people who don't know what we're talking about, like about skinwalkers a little bit about what they are and since you're in the area, like how they affect the culture of your area?
To be honest, from what I know, they don't really affect the culture all that much. I mean, I'm sure if you get to the reservations or something, then yes, they are very large. I know once you get closer to the reservations, they are very still a large part of their culture. Absolutely. Right. But they're also very secretive about it. There are things that they don't want outsiders to know. And I don't know that information. I just know that's a fact. Right. But I mean, I live in rural Arizona. I live there are petroglyphs around from Native American tribes in the past, like literally around my area, just several minutes away, you know? And there are absolutely strange stories out here, but I can't necessarily say they were skinwalker related.
Right. So have you had any kind of experiences that you would attribute to? I mean, being that you have that interest, do you have a story of your own where you're like, yeah, this was definitely something otherworldly?
I've had a few different experiences, to be honest. One of the more prominent ones, I just say prominent because I wasn't the only one who saw it. My stepdad was there with me. But this was back in Sacramento, actually, in my teens. And I was in my mom's bedroom. She had 2 desks, 2 PCs in that room. So I'm on one, my stepdad's on the other. And we're just doing our thing. And we hear a weird sound behind us. And we look and we see a window fan just laying on the ground that was like unplugged. But it looked like it had smoke around it. But I don't mean like it was smoking like on fire. I mean like this skin that was moving around it looking like a smoke. And we both looked at each other and said, "Did you see that?" And right then it just turned on full blast while unplugged.
What the heck?
And so I'm like, and I know it's not me because my stepdad and I were both like, "What the fuck?" You know, so
right.
Yeah.
That's so I find that when people see manifestations like smoke, it will often be accompanied by like an acrid kind of smell. Did you experience anything like that? Any kind of olfactory hallucination at the same time?
To be honest, I don't remember. We were both kind of freaked out, and my mom woke up and didn't believe me, so a fight ensued. So I don't remember, to be honest. But I will say that house had a lot of dead people energy. My parents were antique. Okay, so like Pawn Stars, they would buy people's vintage stuff, resell it, restore it, etc. So our house was constantly full of items from elderly dead people who were having estate sales, selling everything. So I mean, there were several times that I had some kind of weird spirit activity. You mentioned like the goosebumps, for instance. There was a table that they brought home. It was absolutely gorgeous dining table. And every time I sat on it, I would get this horrible, like painful, cold chill down my spine, like jerking, like just shooting down. And I'm like, what the hell? Every time I sit here, I had no reason to like be weirded out by it. I'm just like, what? Every time I sit here, I'm getting that weird chill. And I didn't say anything. But then one Monday, my mom was like, yeah, the previous owner actually died on it. He had a heart attack while he was drinking coffee and just dropped dead right on that table.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were a few, this is all that same house too, the first story. So yeah, there were several experiences like that.
Yeah. That's rough. Cause like, I know that there are people who have ghost experiences, and I don't think that those are like disembodied dead people. I think all of that stuff kind of like comes back to like demonic energy. Cause I think
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just energy in general, because we all emit energy, you know, the earth emits energy there, you know, there's an energy everywhere, and we are part of that energy. So while I don't necessarily believe it's always dead people, there's also just so many different kinds of hauntings too. They're all very different. You know, some are like a videotape being played over and over and over again, and nothing can distract them. Nothing can change them. It's just on this day at this time, they're doing this on the clock. And then there are ones that are trying to interact with you. And then there are ones that can almost hear you, but they like think you're the ghost. Like they're in a different dimension. So, I mean, like, to me, it's like I don't know if there is necessarily just one solid explanation. I feel like it could maybe be several. So I don't fall for every theory, but I'm kind of like, maybe with a lot of them.
So I've heard this sort of theory that as far as like the otherworldly realm goes, they don't experience time the same way that we do. So we have like a linear perception of a past, present, future, but all moments are all happening at the same time on the other side. Like there's no difference. It's like a great circle. Everything is always happening at the same time. So you can interact with time zones that may, for your perception, be happening in the future or happening in the past. And if there's enough like trauma and horror going on in that spot, that it can, like you said, almost like a tape recording, play over and over again. And there's this castle, and I want to say it's either Scotland or Ireland. The castle's name is 5e Castle. Mm-hmm. And the in that castle, there was this little room that they used to throw people down into, and there was a spike at the bottom of the room. So most people, you would throw them down there, they would land on the spike and they would die. Right, but if you were unlucky enough to miss the spike, or only get your leg, only get your arm, get your shoulder, whatever it was, you might be down there for several days, kind of like languishing. And so and people believe because this horrible thing existed, it put this energy in the castle that now has like a haunting to it. Yeah. And it doesn't come in the form of a ghost or a person. It's this little creature that is like, the smell of death is always around it. It's said to be covered in like ragged cloth. And that they see, it's like 4 feet tall, which is, to me, that's a big creature, but I guess to regular sized adults, that's not that big. So it's 4 feet tall and it roams around. It's in this ragged cloth and it smells like death everywhere it goes, and it appears at night. And so, like, I don't know, just when I heard that story about that thing, again, every hair on my arm is just like, whew, stay away from that place. But to this day, you can go to 5e Castle, you can stay there overnight, and people have these experiences on the regular. They go there to have these experiences, crazy people, you know? Like, so, I mean, I think there's something to the idea that traumatic energy can create stuff like this. Like, if
I really believe so. Right. It kind of makes me think of like the law of attraction, where you emit positive energy, you stay in a good spirits, and you're just, trying to be light and love, essentially, and you're going to attract those good things. But if you're constantly negative, you're going to attract negative things. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if and that's energy based. So, I mean, considering that, I guess it would make sense too. Like when you're going through something so traumatic, of course you're releasing just negative energy. There's no hope. Like you said, you're just laying there in anguish. You're just, you're going to die. And you can't do anything about it. You're like it, So yeah, that could absolutely cause some kind of disruption, so to speak.
Right. Some kind of ripple, like in the normal energy that just like transfers over. So that here in 2021, people are going as like a tourist attraction to try to like have an experience with this like demonic creature. This like, I don't even know what you would call it. It's just a lump of cloth. Like, nobody.
Imagine, say you're that person laying there, dying, nothing you can do. I mean, you're screwed, and you're then for however so you're turned into this demonic creature, and now you're a tourist attraction. Your death, your pain is now a tourist attraction.
That's rough.
Like. That's what bad shit's gonna happen,
and people are there with their phones, like check you out. Right? They're like, no, you're supposed to be terrified of me. Come on, guys. So, an added bit of cruelty to that story is that a vent from the kitchens existed between the spiked tower, I guess, and so when they were cooking the food in the kitchens, you would smell it. While you were sort of like starving to death, injured in the bottom of this spike tunnel.
Oh my God. I'm just like,
what's wrong with medieval people? Like
a lot was wrong.
This, right?
So I Googled skinwalkers, and I can't believe I'm going to ask this question, but did y'all ever watch Twilight?
No.
Or read it or any of that crap?
No.
I had a sister-in-law who had abominable taste in everything, including men.
I went and saw one Twilight movie because there was a cute girl and I was trying to date her, and I went and watched the movie.
Okay, I was like, it wasn't in the movie. There wasn't a cute girl in the movie.
But it made so the werewolves in that werewolves are just Native American dudes who turn into wolves.
Okay.
And it just sounds like I'm reading the Skinwalker thing, and I'm like, did they base this off of Skinwalkers in like some very weak way?
I doubt they'd have that much like forethought into what they were creating, because there didn't seem to be like a discernible plot or anything.
No, I believe perfectly sculpted eyebrows is an actual quote from that book. That's what I was told. I never actually read it. I was just like, yeah, they literally said perfectly sculpted eyebrows. And I'm like, you know what? I'm never reading this.
So my sister-in-law told me, she goes, no, it's really good. You should give it a chance. And so I had a whole conversation with Cam about yesterday about how I didn't finish high school and I don't have any grammar skills. But I knew a couple pages into this book that there was no sentence structure. Anything can be a sentence in Twilight. And I was like, I can't read this. It's abominable. So a person who didn't even finish high school was like, this is terrible.
Didn't Stephen King like tear her apart for her grammar?
I mean, I believe
I feel like that was the thing that happened. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't quote me, but I feel like that happened.
It was abominable. I couldn't read it. I was like, this is not legible to me. This is like reading a drunk person on Reddit trying to describe.
I mean, to be fair, she probably was a drunk person on Reddit. Like, honestly, Reddit, I mean, it did start off as a fan fiction, and then got spawned into Harry that. Potter, right?
Oh dear!
I think it was Harry Potter.
Yeah, I think it was Harry Potter fan fiction. Which, and I'm also pretty sure. Another one-off is I'm pretty sure that 50 Shades of Grey was a fan fiction of Twilight.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking 50 Shades of Grey. That's what I was thinking of. Okay.
I think they're all that. I think it's a fan fiction. Oh, God. I think it's a fan fiction of a fan fiction kind of thing.
Get that away from me. Get that thing away from me. Oh my God.
Yellowstone needs to erupt now. Like, I'm done. We're done.
I'm more scared of that than I am of the Skinwalkers now.
Well, apparently you're not supposed to actually say Skinwalkers, because if you do, that leaves you open to them coming after you.
Fuck! Why didn't you say something?
I didn't know this was rude. All right, well, nice knowing you guys.
Totally screwed you guys. Yeah,
she's the one in Skinwalker territory.
Yeah, they'll come.
I'm
come
done.
for you.
Bye. Love you guys.
So what is your favorite cryptid?
Good question.
To be honest, I can't say I have an exact one. Bigfoot does hold a special place in my heart, but not for reasons people would think. But as far as like coolness factor goes, I've always really liked El Chupacabra, just because there's a lot of like whack conspiracy theories behind it, so it just keeps it that much more interesting to me. Everyone's obsessed with
Chupacabra.
It's the goat sucker. It's kind of like a reptilian kangaroo dog thing with like spikes and like giant glowing red eyes, and it attacks livestock primarily. I'm actually not very far from El Chupacabra territory either.
I think it's just an angry chihuahua.
Yeah. It started in Puerto Rico and spread through Mexico, Texas, I think parts of Arizona, New Mexico.
Okay. I have this second screen over here and I'm Googling things as you talk about them. So please continue. That's why I'm making faces, because I'm seeing some things.
You're good. But yeah, I really like that one. Honestly, the Romani Melon vampires are up there just because, like, how could they not be? There's also, I'm probably butchering this. I've tried so many times to actually pronounce this right, but it's not easy. The Volpertinger. It's like a jackalope, but it's Bavarian, and it's like more jacked up. Like it's the rabbit, and it's got the antlers, but it's also got like fangs and pheasant wings, and it's just more Frankenstein.
Well, I just love. I have a jackalope for a couple of reasons. One being that I went on Twitter and I was
a jackalope tattoo.
Yes. It's my jackalope. But I have this for two reasons. One, I went on Twitter and I was going to get a wolf, and I was like, anyone have any ideas for a a tattoo other than that. And a girl came up and said a jackalope, and I was like, okay, you sold me. That's that. And then I did a little poll, and I actually let the internet choose this, and I couldn't be more thrilled with it.
I know, it looks really cool. I like it.
I just really like. I do not like the American government, but I love the spirit of America, and this is so incredibly American in the best way it can be.
Right?
Like bourbon and jackalopes. I'm all about that. I did get a new tattoo.
Ooh.
Which I
have sent you a link in the private chat. I would like you to put that image on the screen.
Is it a Volpertinger?
No. It is something that should not exist, but does.
I mean, I expect this is Rule 34 stuff.
I want to talk about why this exists.
I've actually been sent screenshots of a Bigfoot porno before.
So this is a legitimate book that's available on Amazon, Surrendering to the Sasquatch, an erotic monster fantasy. You can get it on Kindle. It's free with Kindle Unlimited. $2.99 otherwise.
Good.
Yeah. So these are legitimate monster stories with a lady and a Bigfoot.
Stories. Nothing more. Just stories.
Nothing more. Why does this exist? And of course, we have a friend on Twitter. All of us are friends with Biggie Foots on Twitter.
Biggie is great.
So I like to imagine these are the tales of his erotic conquests.
Is he an erotic advisor?
He could be. He might have an OnlyFans page where he advises in the ways of monster love. It's true. This is terrible. So there are fan fictions of Bigfoot, but there are like also fan fictions of like Colonel Sanders from KFC.
Dude, fan fiction is
everything.
Wild.
Everything's got a fan fiction.
So there are a couple of YouTubers that I watch occasionally. One is Danny Gonzalez and the other is Drew Gooden. And they're friends in real life as well as YouTube. And they found fan fiction of them hooking up and then read it together on a video. And I was like, this is the best thing. I guarantee you, like, there's probably like Dave Smith fan fiction out there.
I was
the
just
first
gonna
person
say
to find it and link it wins something.
We'll buy you we'll give you a free t-shirt if you find a Dave Smith erotic fan fiction, but also
either find it or write it.
I was gonna say now everyone's gonna start writing it.
or a Reed Clint crossover fan fiction. They don't have to be erotic, but
they have to be erotic.
I was gonna say
they have
bonus
to be
points.
I prefer them not to be, but apparently Cam has other preferences.
I need it to be gross.
Like sloppy. The sloppier the better. So yeah, get on it, guys. Colonel Sanders is in pretty good shape. A solid looking guy, lots of opportunities. That's OPSEC strip is a fan of the Colonel. Frantic typing. You're gonna make this thing happen, and then it's gonna be terrible.
I want it. Please write a Dave Smith, Clint, and Reed fan fiction. Someone, for the love of God, make it horrible, and then blame me, because I'm fine with that.
I feel like the better you tried to make it, the worse it would be. Like,
I didn't mean to put up the heavyweight copy pasta there.
Yeah. My goodness. So anyway, back to monsters.
Yes, let's talk about monsters some more. Jessica, is your favorite cryptid Bigfoot?
It is. I have a Bigfoot sign in my garden, and it's got the famous shadow of him walking. Yes. And then it says welcome over the top of it. And it's a metal sign that I bought at an art festival. But yeah, no, I like the Sasquatches mainly because I don't feel like they're real. So it's do what?
Because of the book. You read the book. Well, and now you love the Bigfoot.
surrendering to the Sasquatch. That chick had a full-on G-string. Like, what are you doing in the woods with a G-string on, you stupid bitch? That's why. That's why. And who writes these? What kind of monstrous human being? I'm gonna look her. Maybe she has a Twitter. I'm gonna find the author's name is Maddie McNeil.
What if we talk to her on the show?
Let's get her on the show and find out why she wrote. She wrote a lot of books. A lot of books.
I'm sure she's just pumping them out. She's not giving a shit. She's just like, lady, monster, you fuck, done. And
one is called.
There's no thought needed. You're not reading these books for the plot. You're not reading them for the the art of the grammar. You're just reading them because you want to read about monsters and people fucking. Like, that's all.
I mean, Death by Nessie.
You can get a 12-book set for $10. That's
not bad.
Books, yeah. Her big title seems to be Orcgasm. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so
that's the best punk band name ever.
So the main character's name is Zen, spelled with an X. Oh my god, I hate everything about this.
Of course it is.
Zen manages to capture an orc during an attack on an orc fortress, because where else would orcs be? Orcs aren't captured often, and Zen needs to make him talk. Oh my god, he's a massive. I can't read this. He's a massive, stubborn brute, but she quickly learns what he likes. Oh my god.
What's the cover look
him
like?
For information. It looks sweet. Hold on. We'll put it up. Hold on.
What I love about surrendering the Sasquatch, that book cover we showed, is that it's legitimately just a chimpanzee head photoshopped onto a gorilla body with
it's not even a Bigfoot.
A girl with a thong walking in the woods. It's beautiful.
This is not. I didn't need to know this existed.
Oh, you did. Now you do.
Wow. Apparently, Orcgasm is a multi-series. There are sequels. I guess Zen with an X didn't get all the information she needed on the first blow. Here, I'm going to put it in the pun not intended, although it was pretty good. Okay. It's in the, I think I just added a 3 to that. Hold on. Okay. It's in the thingy.
Let's find out together.
It's
I just moved the whole screen over. Let's see. Oh God. Oh goodness. This is spicy.
I mean, this is borderline like bestiality stuff. I think people are like,
God.
Yeah, he's come with the chain.
I want to make it bigger. No, I don't.
I bet the 5 people who are watching this right now are so glad they tuned in.
I hope they got paid good money to make that cover. That's all I'm gonna say. As long as everyone's happy, I'm happy.
a bodybuilder with a giant chain around him. I'm colorblind. Can't tell you what color he is.
He is ripped, though. I mean, that orc is like, he is stacked for real.
Got big old teeth.
Yeah. My goodness.
They feel about orcs with big teeth.
But apparently this is a huge genre that like not just this writer, but like it seems to be many dozens of probably very disturbed individuals who are writing this like monster huge size hardcore monster erotica. Oh God. I'm thoroughly disturbed. I need therapy just for knowing this exists.
This
could it be my new sleep paralysis demon?
I'm saying try to get the information.
Maddie McNeil, come on the show. Let's talk about you.
We're gonna find her. We're gonna ask what happened to you? Why Maddie McNeil?
What happened to you?
Just like, who hurt you? Who hurt you?
There's no way that this is like her legitimate name. I would never put my like actual human person name on this work. What if it's me?
Well,
she's loud and proud.
So
she
Harley,
is, yeah.
Of the cryptids, which ones or one do you think has the most evidence behind it, or which one do you think is most real among them?
That's hard to say.
Are there any that you're convinced by?
Honestly, I can't say I'm fully convinced by any of them, but that doesn't mean I am skeptics in all of them either. Like, I'm very open to the idea of the Yeti, to be honest, just because there are records of hairs not attached to known species of animals found near like deer, such just ripped to shreds, you know? So, I mean, it's like, okay, it sounds like there's something out there. Maybe it's not our idea of a Yeti, but there's something undiscovered out there that people think is a Yeti, at least, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The Yeti always came off to me like a polar bear, that somebody had some kind of like terrifying encounter with a polar bear, and in their mind they didn't like process that it was a bear at the time. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. That is very possible. I mean, especially like you look back at like when these sightings first started, everybody back then was on drugs. Like, let's be real. And so, I mean, like you look at like old timey, you know, sailing maps and all, like the pirate maps, all that shit, and like the jacked up looking sea monsters, or the first time people settled in the US and saw bears and they just look nothing like bears, or they try to draw what they look like. I mean, again, everybody was on drugs back then. Nobody could tell what they were looking at.
Can I just say that one picture of Nessie looks 100% like a toy dinosaur in a puddle?
It is, essentially. It was already proven to be a hoax.
The Loch Ness Monster?
That famous black and white photo of it, yes.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
It just looks like a toy dinosaur. And I was always, but I knew people in high school who saw that and would swear up and down that Nessie was real and that this photograph was real. And it's like the famous Bigfoot photo, which is also clearly a dude in a suit.
Okay, I have a story about the guy in the Bigfoot video.
Go
for it.
So I said hold a special place in my heart. And the reason why, my great grandfather lived like 30 minutes outside of where that was recorded in the time it was recorded. And before he passed away, he claimed multiple times that he was part of that video. Now, obviously, there's no proof. I can't just say, yeah, he totally was, you know, because I don't know. I mean, he likes to kind of joke around. I will say I've had a couple of moments in my life that make me go, oh, shit, he might actually be telling the truth. One of those is I was watching a documentary on it, and I always mix up which one of them's dead, one of them is alive. I believe it's Patterson that died. So it was Gimlin, I believe, is still alive. I might have that switch, though. I always forget. I was watching a documentary when I was like 13 or so, and my grandma, my grandpa's daughter, walked in, and she's like, hey, I remember him. He was a friend of my dad's. And I'm like, do you know what I'm watching? She's like, no. And I told her I'm watching a documentary on Bigfoot, and her whole face went completely pale, and she walked out of the room without a word. And I did find in his cabin videotapes that were marked Bigfoot footage. I wasn't allowed to watch them. So yes, I have no substantial proof by any sort of means. I got no way to prove it, but I'm just like, oh shit. He was in the right area at the right time. My grandma apparently did definitely know those guys. So like, shit, there might be.
Why would your Gam try to suppress the Bigfoot information, do you think?
She's just in general secretive. She does that with a lot of things. And I don't know so much if she was trying to hide it as much as she wasn't sure if she was convinced by it either. And maybe that was like a confirmation to her and she didn't want to talk about it anymore. I really don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
So here's the thing that Ethan brought up. And it's that, okay, so there's this thing. I want to say it's sperm whales. But there are whales and that they will get close to the water and they will get an erection and it will come out of the water. And people have come to this the idea that yes, there may have been sea serpents that people saw back in the day and reported about, but in fact, they were whale penises.
Yes.
And not sea serpents. And this,
that a
I
whale
remember
dick?
learning about.
That is a dork, as some call it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a whale
The
wiener.
likeness to the photo is incredible. Between the Nessie photo and the whale dong is incredible.
Yeah.
Life imitates art.
Wow.
But yeah, apparently this is theorized to be where a lot of these sea serpent or kraken.
Yes.
I mean, we know squids exist, but kraken coming up out of the sea and all of that coming up come from is whale dicks, which I in loving memory of one of my previous guests who died recently, John McAfee, rest in peace. You whale fucker.
So just to make the point that he made so expertly very shortly before his death is that it was consensual, because there's no way you're going to do that to a whale without their approval. So at the very least, we know that interaction, if it existed, was consensual between John and the whale. So rest in peace,
right.
John.
That does give a whole new meaning to Moby Dick.
I'm learning so many things today. So many things.
This is what you get for having a resin penis craftsman on your show. Now the episode is just different penis facts.
Dicks all the way down.
I told you the subject would come back up just because I'm here.
So a lot of these people who write this, I've been researching, trying to find one of these monster fan fiction writers, and they're all aliases, because no buddy wants their actual name to be put on a story about a lady doinking a Bigfoot. So we're going to have to really do a deep dive to find one of these people who's willing to face reveal on our podcast about writing Bigfoot doinking fan fictions. So we might have to let them wear a mask, because Cam has a policy of you have to actually be on the podcast. You can't be just a screen that some people do, an avatar. He wants their actual faces, but we will let you wear a mask. So if you want to wear
I've seen so many podcasts where these little shining or little fluctuating, puddling avatars, and I hate it. I will not watch it. The point of having video is to have video. And so it's I'm not going to be a dick and say, no, I won't talk to you. You have if someone has a very important story to tell, of course, there are going to be exceptions to the rule. But if I can get you to wear a mask, if you're uncomfortable, or if I can, we let Tet do it one time. I just love Tet. I mean, there are exceptions, but I would prefer to have video in some way, because it's far more interesting when you can get, even without a face, if you can get some sort of physicality, much more interesting to watch. But let's talk about let's I love the idea of cryptids. I love the dark ones and the ones that aren't dark. I feel like there are more dark cryptids than there are nice cryptids.
Absolutely.
We talked about the
or at least the most famous ones anyway.
Right. Well, there's also this there's another Japanese one, which is kind of a monkey looking man. I can't remember the name of it. And he has, I want to say, a bowl on his head, and he will spill the bowl on you or try to hurt you if you do not give him a cucumber.
Are you thinking of the kappa?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, because it's like a turtle man creature dealio, and yes, they can absolutely be vicious, and one of the ways to keep them away is to give them cucumbers. And they have they have their heads are kind of caved in, so their heads are kind of like bowls, and if the water falls out or dries out, they can die. So they want to keep it filled, so they tend to hang out by rivers.
Who just has a cucumber, first of all, just on hand? Who keeps one?
If you're scouted by Papa, you will absolutely have a cucumber on hand. In fact, there's a tradition there to write or carve your family's name into a cucumber and toss it down the river as an offering to make sure the Kappa don't attack your children while you're swimming in the river.
Speaking of cucumbers, I mentioned 50 Shades of Grey earlier. I had a friend who worked in a movie theater, and when 50 Shades of Grey came out, part of his cleanup was throwing away cucumbers.
No.
Oh, God.
No.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
I rebuke
women
and
are
reject
nasty.
this story.
Oh, my God.
Women are nasty.
No, I refuse to believe this. Oh, my God.
White women must be stopped.
Oh, my God. I worked at a movie theater bar, and we definitely had some weird shit happen at the movie theaters that we've had to call police over. But, like, oh, my God, what the hell? That's nasty.
He said there were at least 3 cucumbers he found when that movie came out.
Why wouldn't you pack it out? Why would you leave it there? What's wrong with you? Take your cucumber home with you.
Who wants to take a stinky cucumber home with them?
But you don't leave it there for the poor. I mean, I feel bad like dropping popcorn on the floor for the attendant to pick up. I hate
Yellowstone. Just Yellowstone the damnation already. God.
That's horrible. Well, you know, that movie was part of like the normalization of porn in our society, and like it's not a good thing. Like, I mean, I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not like a pearl clutching type of person. If you use it, it's fine or whatever, but you don't leave your things in the movie theater, ladies. I need you to have a little more dignity, a little more class. Like, what is going on with our society?
There is, trust me, as somebody who did work in movie theater bar, there is absolutely no dignity or class.
Yes.
I'm telling you, this is why COVID happened, everybody. This is why we're being punished with COVID.
Yep, this is our plague. This is our punishment.
Because y'all can't pack out your cucumbers when you leave the damn movie theater. Leave no trace.
I do. So the art that we used for this episode was from a guy named Jackson Davis, and it's of Mothman. Have you done much research into the Mothman, Harley? Because I feel like this painting was so beautiful that I want to talk about Mothman for at least a little bit.
The Mothman is definitely arguably the most popular cryptid right now. It is definitely a very fascinating story. There's a lot of conspiracy and Men in Black type stuff. Like, I don't know if you've read the Mothman prophecies or anything, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I can understand why it's so popular, but I have to admit people are getting really weird with it because now he's constantly being sexualized.
Again,
we're talking about these books as if there's something out of the norm, and unfortunately, they're really not that out of the norm.
Oh my God!
Have you ever seen the Mothman statue? Do me a favor. Whoever can Google right now and put in images. Look up the Mothman statue in West Virginia and look up both sides of the statue.
I'm so excited.
Let me see. Oh, look at this thing. Oh dear. Why?
So you guys are frozen on my end. Are you showing an image?
Yeah, you're good. No, not yet.
Okay.
Let me pull it up.
Because I can't see what's going on. You guys are frozen on my end.
We can still hear you, but you are freezing on our end. But we can still hear you.
Okay.
So the Mothman statue.
Tell me what you're saying so I can elaborate.
So it's like a silver guy with a weird nest of chest hair.
Yes, he's absolutely
not sure about.
Like, you can grind meat on those abs for some reason. Now look at the backside.
Look at that. Look at that booty.
He's dummy.
What's going on? Oh my God! Why do these things exist? A town built this.
A town in West Virginia.
A whole ass town built this thing and put it up like it's something they're proud of. Look at this old couple posing in front of it. I am legitimately upset and confused by what I am seeing.
I'm sorry, I caught it. I lost connection for a second. But yes, for some reason, the statue has like a dump truck ass, and like I've seen a lot of weird shit. You know, I'm in a lot of cryptid communities, and I've seen some weird shit.
So the inscription on the statue reads, "The legend of the Mothman. On a chilly fall night in November 1966, two young couples drove into the TNT area north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when they realized they were not alone. What they saw that night has evolved into one of the great mysteries of all time. Hence, the Mothman legacy began. It has grown into a phenomenon known all over the world by millions of curious people asking questions. What really happened? What did those people see? Has it been seen since? It still sparks the world's curiosity, a mystery behind the Point Pleasant, West Virginia Mothman." Who got paid to put this horrific looking thing in the middle of a West Virginia town? That's what Bob Roach. That's who.
Fuck you, Bob Roach.
Fuck you, Bob Roach, for inflicting this horrifically thick Mothman statue on us all.
Voluptuous.
Choosing the word. But what's horrifying about it is that the eyes glow. They're like red tail lights in the eyes, and they glow.
Yeah,
and I guess people come and like stand in front of this thing and take pictures with it.
Yeah,
we are trash culture. My goodness. Of course I'm gonna go see this thing though.
You gotta.
Like, I'm complaining about it, but I'm totally gonna go see it.
you gotta touch that ass though. I hear it's good.
I do.
Just give it.
It's really high up there. I'm pretty short, so I'll need somebody to boost me up.
Have Kevin pick you up.
Yeah, he will. He'll do that. I gotta go touch the Mothman statue's ass, babe.
At least it's not that first monster. You don't have to touch the giant dong.
No. Oh my god. That's a legitimately scary one. See,
oh god.
I feel like that's why I'm really like into horror movies and, you know, fun stuff like that. But once I started having these like terrifying dreams, we're in the middle of our 100 Nights of Horror movie challenge right now. And I happened to also like quit smoking weed 2 weeks ago. And so I've been having these like horrible dreams. I can't watch horror movies right now because some of them are like too reminiscent of the visions that I'm like literally having visions at night.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this. I go to sleep, it's black, you know? I go to sleep, it's black. I wake up, it's morning. Like that's the way it's been for the last 20 years. All of a sudden, I'm having nightmarish hallucinations throughout the night. And does this end? Do people actually exist in a world where they go to sleep at night and they hallucinate all night long? Like this is dreaming? I don't want this.
Yeah. I used to watch my documentaries at night just because that was like the only time I really had the freedom to watch them uninterrupted. And I would have to like palate cleanse, so to speak, and watch like Beavis and Butthead or something afterwards. So I could like get all the spooky, scary out of my head before I went to sleep, you know, and replace it with something mindless and stupid. And then I could go to bed with less chance of sleep paralysis.
I had to do that with the second movie. Cam chose this movie for our challenge. It was called Bone Tomahawk. And legitimately, my husband, my poor husband has had nightmares about this movie. I've had nightmares. Like, it's such a horrifyingly, like, graphic movie that it just, like, if you can't handle gore, do not watch Bone Tomahawk, you guys. I'm telling you now from the goodness and kindness of my heart. But I had to like watch a whole season of Rick and Morty afterward to like palate cleanse and get the images out of my head.
And that's why I loved it, is because that was the first horror. It's like a horror Western. It's the first horror movie that I watched in years, where that night aspects of it made it into nightmares. And I was like,
were legitimately scared?
Well, I mean, I've had nightmares. Like, I don't know. Nightmares don't typically scare me after I wake up. I'm just like, oh, that was a nightmare. I'm typically good. But it was the fact that it made me go, this is the kind of shit I like. Like,
see, Cam, you don't smoke weed. So let me ask you this. Do you dream every night?
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
I mean, if I do, I don't remember it.
That's a relief. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started taking CBD oil, and that's like helping tamp it down somewhat. But I'm not like gonna do CBD oil every night for the rest of my life. I mean, I will if it prevents me from having like terrifying nightmares, I guess. But the whole idea was to get off of substances completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Harley, what is? I don't know if I've asked this. I don't think I have. What is the most horrifying cryptid, in your opinion?
To be honest, I don't know if I can give a solid answer because there are a lot of ones out there that are scary for very different reasons. I mean, if we want to talk about my personal fears, then I would say just any cryptid big enough to eat me alive, because I kind of have a phobia like of getting eaten alive. I'm not gonna lie. So for me, anyone that could do that, yeah, we'll go with that.
What's a good one that could eat you alive?
I would say probably more like the sea creature ones. You know, some think that the megalodon is still a thing, and I would hope and pray not. You know,
let's see. I'm the opposite because I fucking love sharks, and so
they're cool. I just don't want to get eaten whole. Like that's horrifying.
Right. But I'm just really hoping that there's this deep part of the ocean where megalodons live.
They're
still down there, and I want that. I want that to be a thing. Have you ever heard of the Greenland shark?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, so let me actually get the number here. But there's a shark called that's the Greenland shark, and they are incredibly old. And it is something that I think it's, well, obviously Greenland, but they'll eat it. But these sharks, they're extremely toxic to eat. And so they have this whole fermentation process because people in those cold countries are out of their fucking minds. But I think the oldest one that they've found was like 512 years old. And they look like zombie sharks. Like they look like they've been living in the ocean for hundreds of years. Like they don't look like they're living, and they're fascinating animals.
I'm gonna Google now. The Greenland shark.
Greenland shark, yeah. I think that the oldest one that they think they've aged was 512 years old.
Like a living shark that's 512 years old.
Living shark that's between 400 and 500 years old. Yeah.
Jeepers.
My internet is so slow right now, but I'm trying to Google it.
Have you found one, Jessica? Because I'll pull this picture.
I'm actually looking at the Twitter account of this couple that got married in front of the Mothman statue. Like this could be us, but you're yeah, this could be us, but you're playing around. That's sweet. That's sweet though. That's nice for them.
This is the Greenland shark.
Okay.
And so this one is probably around 400 years old. They're blind, and they look like they've deteriorated. Like that. Does that not look like a zombie shark?
What is the point of that creature?
I don't know. The only uglier shark that I know of is the goblin shark. Have you ever seen a goblin shark?
No.
Oh, I love sharks. This is this is my autism coming out.
Yeah, let's do it. Too bad.
Goblin sharks are interesting because
those are weird looking.
They expel their jaw, so their mouth doesn't move like that. Their jaw shoots out of their mouth, and they grab onto their prey that way. And they're deep sea sharks, and so that's why they're so freaking weird looking. Because everything that's that deep is weird looking. I can't believe I'm on the shark kick. That's incredible. What a night. So there we go. Window. There we go. This is a goblin shark. Look at that.
Yikes. Oh my God. I mean, let's not even talk about the donger on the front of his face. And they shoot their jaws out. What's the point?
Well, they creep up, and there's the fish in front of it, and then their jaw just grabs the fish and pulls it
okay.
back.
So it's like retractable. It doesn't like shoot out and then they're like have to grow new teeth.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not like an octopus penis. I don't know if you know about octopus penises.
I know about octopus
penis.
So
do continue.
Male octopi, octopuses, octopodes, if you will. They take their penis, they pull it off, and they throw it at the female, and they're like, "Hey, go fuck yourself," and the women do, and that's how octopus procreate.
That's not a real story.
Yes. 100%. Google that shit.
It's made up.
Nope.
You made that up just now. Do octopus throw their penis?
Can you imagine how terrifying if there were like krakens that would come up over the surface and like two of them like start breeding like that and they're just chucking their dicks across your pirate ship?
Imagine if humans had to do it that way. Just intently duck going that shit.
Make like a makeshift blow dart and just like right in their necks.
No images. Why would I click image?
Because you're a freak.
Okay, so apparently that's true, and it's a specific breed of octopus. It's called the Argonaut octopus. When the female Argonaut octopus swims by, the male phallus detaches itself from his body, floats to the female, and mates with her. So the penis is like, I'm out of here. Goodbye. And then the male dies.
Yep.
So it's like a bee sting that once you've anglerfish.
Do you know anything about anglerfish?
They have that's the one with the light, right?
With the light.
Okay.
But those are the women. Those are the female anglerfish, because the females are the big fish, and then the male is this tiny little fish. And what he does is he swims up to the female and then becomes a part of her body. So he just implants himself on the outside of her body. His stuff goes into her stuff. She has babies. He becomes a part of her.
That's vaguely romantic, but also not.
That's
they become one.
The point?
I don't know how this went from cryptids to marine biology, but hey,
it's very close. The two things, yeah.
We're here, and I cannot overstate. I do just love sharks. Like, I've always thought that they were the most fascinating creatures, and I want megalodons to be real right now.
The most Googled question about octopuses on Google is, do octopuses have balls? So that is the number one Google asked. It's not how do you prepare octopus? It's not, is octopus good with garlic? It's, do they have balls? So like the internet is a trash fire.
Oh my God.
I love okay, so Paul just said mermaids. Let's talk about mermaids. Do you know why mermaids exist? Do you know what people thought were what the pirates, the seafaring men, thought were mermaids?
The way I knew this story was that it was what are those fat things called?
Manatees.
Manatees, thank you.
And that's it.
What I used to call that girl in high school. A manatee.
The sea cow.
No, I was never that mean. Yeah, so they saw the sea cow, and ladies were like,
look at that
sexy ladies
broad.
Were big back then, and they were like,
everyone back then was on drugs. All of them. They were not seeing things as what they were.
But I mean, imagine having to be alive in those times. Like, you would want to be fucked up 24 hours a day, because life was hard.
I'm not judging them.
Violent.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get where they're coming from. They're like, this is medieval times and it sucks. We need to like be super high. There's a movie called A Field in England, and it's the entire movie is about these three medieval guys hiding for their lives in a field, and they eat mushrooms because they're hungry. So they just find some mushrooms and they trip their balls off. But it's all in this like weird sort of medieval, their entire world is like possessed by the church, and like their visions are very like involved with that. So it's a crazy movie, but as someone who has tripped before, it's the most real to life depiction of a psychedelic trip that I have ever seen. and it's called A Field in England. So if you've never tripped before and you don't intend to, but you want to kind of get a feel for what it's like, A Field in England is a very true to life depiction of tripping.
Or just do it.
Or just do it, yeah.
Have you watched Midsummer yet?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I'm laying off until the dreams stop because I am having a rough time with these dreams, man.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Like, I watched the last night's, which was It Comes at Night, and I didn't watch most of that movie. I got so bored.
Okay.
So whoever, like, there are a couple of them on the list where people have hyped up movies, and I'm like, bummer. You have bad taste now, I know. Tonight's is really weird. It's called Possum by Matthew Holness. It's bizarre and very psychological. So if you want to jump in on the 100 Nights of Horror, we have a Facebook group you can check out, and you can see the calendar. But tonight's is a good one to go into purely for the weird, dark absurdity and psychological nature of the film. We definitely. So, are there any other cryptid questions that you have, Jessica?
I have been exposed to many facts tonight that it will take me time to process, to be honest. I think if I have to learn anything else, I will be very upset.
What I love about being freeform is the fact is we had some we did talk a little bit about cryptids, but we talked about some wonderful things, I think. And people are going to be thinking about that cucumber cryptid as well as the cucumbers in the theater. So
there's a connection here between throwing the cucumber to avoid the octopus throws his cucumber, and then the janitor at the movie theater has to throw the cucumber into the trash can. So there is a theme here.
There's a balance. Sure. The perfect balance.
Yes. All things perfectly balanced. Yes.
So I don't know if you know this, Harley, but Jessica is a teller of fortunes.
We're still doing this, aren't
we? with deep and unsettling powers. And so she can, a lot of people can read tarot cards. A lot of people can, read palms, but Jessica reads pizzas. So if you were to order a pizza right now, any toppings, what pizza would you order? And Jessica, without using Google to find
oh, fuck you, I do what I want.
A horoscope will tell you what it means about you.
Okay. All right, here we go.
I'm such a dick.
I'm going to say deep dish, extra cheese, garlic butter crust, pineapple, bacon, barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce.
With the pineapple.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You get that savory sweet deal going on.
Okay, so interestingly, every time I have pulled up a random, because the way I started doing this, okay, so a little background here is that one time on Twitter, I said, your pizza order tells me everything I need to know about you. And so Cam has made me give every guest a specialized pizza reading. Since then, it's been like 18 weeks, and he's made me do this every time. I'm really struggling to come up with like things to say about pizza. So I've been pulling up horoscopes, but what I've noticed is whatever random horoscope I pull up tends to actually be that person's astrological sign. So my first question is, are you a Gemini?
Yes.
It's like not failing so far. There's like 4 weeks in a row. Cool.
Yeah, I just turned 30 on June 7th. Yep.
Excellent. Happy birthday. My 30s have been the best time of my life, so I hope that will be the case for you as well.
I hope so too.
It says you may feel an urgent need to use your physical energy, which brings up questions of sports in your life. Do you get enough exercise? If not, this could be a good time to join a gym. What the hell kind of horoscope is this? It's very judgy.
I
don't
say,
like
it's
it.
rude.
Yeah, that's rude.
Get in the gym, bitch. Let's go. Get your fat ass.
Are you a fat bitch? You need to go to the gym.
Well, you know what? I did. To be fair, I did just say I would order deep dish, extra cheese, pineapple.
The circle.
I guess I can't be too mad. That's fair.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So fair enough. And it says, find one you like and get moving. You that bitch.
So eat the pizza and then go work it off at the gym. Is that what I'm being told?
Yeah, that's what you're being told. Not by me, by this horoscope.
Fair enough.
Wildly, like when we did it for Kate, it was also her. She was a Aquarius, I think, and I randomly pulled up the one that I pulled up was an Aquarius. So I have a pretty good hit rate with this so far. Yeah, I go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that I liked the first few when you had to go off your head, and your readings are going down. You're calling people fat bitches. I mean, we're going to have
call anybody a fat bitch. The horoscope reading said that.
Okay, I'm good. I see. Yeah.
I put butter on the crust, for God's sake. Like I shot myself in the foot with this one. Let's be fair.
He set that shit up.
So one of the things, the hallmark of this show is that we believe in hope. We believe in not, as it were, taking the black pill, but looking at life, how it's good, what motivates us. So is there anything in your life? It could be personal. It could be extremely personal. It could be small. It could be big. It could be global, whatever floats your boat. What at this point is giving you hope that we might share with the audience?
Oh God. That's a lot of really heavy shit right now. I'm not going to lie. Getting out of a very, very rough domestic abuse situation that I'm still dealing with the aftermath with, but I'm working towards getting into a much healthier spot in my life. I'm in a much better relationship now. And so it's kind of just a waiting game until I can finally just leave all this behind and get my life going again.
Yeah.
But you were able to get out, and you've been able to find some happiness from what at least I've seen on Twitter.
This time last year was one of the most difficult times of my life. And this time 2 years ago was one of the most devastating as well. And so for the first time in a good while now, I actually have something to hope for and look forward to. When this time last year I really didn't, or the last year and the year before, I didn't have anything to hope for.
So it gets better.
It does. It gets better. Right. It'll take some time sometimes, and it's frustrating waiting for it. But when it does, it'll hit you like a ton of bricks. You'll start seeing how the stars align, and you're going to be thankful they did.
Absolutely. And it's always hard when you are planting a new garden and you're sowing new seeds and you're tilling the earth. It's hard. But, you know, from what I've noticed on Twitter, you have been very intentional at tending your garden, and that's something that people need to do. And
what other choice do I have?
Glad to see that. Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. What other choice do I have? Am I gonna just sit here and let it get worse? Like, why would I do that? I'm already pissed off because other people tore me down, so I'm gonna tear myself down as well. Like, does that make sense?
They do that every day, though. Like, it's so bizarre to me.
Yeah, I know they do, and it sucks because they lose hope, you know. But there comes a certain point when you're just self-sabotaging. You're just hurting yourself, and you can't see that as an option. You have to look at that and go, no, that's not an option. I'm going to get myself out of here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
we're proud of you.
Yes, absolutely. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and how we talked about what we wanted to talk about, and we also talked about so many other disturbing, wonderful, and funny things. It was A plus in my book. But I did want to let people know that if they want to follow you on Twitter, you do have one of those. You're at Rebel Scum Han, which is just such a great name. I mean, I'm surprised that you have it, because I feel like that would have been something nabbed like 2009.
Right. I would have thought, because my legal name is Hannah. And so it was just like a pun. I'm like, well, I'm an anarchist. I'm Rebel Scum. I love Han Solo. Hannah, you know. So yeah, I was really surprised that it wasn't taken when I started that account, to be honest.
And also, you have your project, which is Cryptid Bartender. Could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what you want to do and how you want that to grow?
Okay, so it has been on hiatus for a while just because earlier this year shit hit the fan, and I'm, like I said, still picking up a lot of pieces, but I'm trying to get it going again. A big part of what's holding me back right now is the fact that I don't have transport. Like we discussed earlier, I can't drive, so transportation is sometimes hard for me, and I use different ingredients that you can't just get at a normal store, so that makes things a little tricky, but I'm trying to get it back up and running again. And what I do, for those who don't know, I started this about 2 years ago. I make cocktails, like original cocktails, not just like special little funky takes, little twists, but like brand spanking new ones that are all based on different cryptids, UFO reports, hauntings, conspiracy theories, urban legends, etc. And
cool.
I try to make the drinks like reflect what the theme is. You know, I'm not just like throwing together a random drink and be like, I'm gonna call it, you know, El Chupacabra, boom, we're done. I like take the theme and I look into like the history, the location, what kind of foods, flavors, etc. is the place known for. And I try to tie in a lot of the culture and history into the ingredients and make it make sense. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I've put it on hiatus for a bit, but I'm trying to get it back rolling again. So if you want to follow that, I do have a Twitter, and it's at Cryptid Bartender. So like at the end, it's like DR. There's no E because I couldn't fit it. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, I am at like 9,000 followers on that.
Dang.
And I had a YouTube. Well, I have a YouTube channel, but I've only did one video on it because video is hard. But you can by all means subscribe to it because I want to put videos on there. Encourage me. I'm hoping.
What's the channel called?
I believe it's just called the Cryptid Bartender. I think it's just all the Cryptid Bartender. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I think that's the main stuff. I'm brainstorming how I'm going to handle an actual physical recipe book. Right now, I have 52 cocktails released on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm working on turning that into an actual thing. So there's going to be different volumes of that once I get that going. So this will be like volume 1, and then later I'll do volume 2 when I have another like 50 or so. So yeah, by all means, please follow. Encourage me to get back into it because I want to. I don't want to let it die, but it also doesn't make me money. So, you know.
So I put the link for her YouTube channel in the private chat if you want to throw that on the show notes so that folks can find her and subscribe to her channel.
There's only one video on it. And it's so baby's first YouTube tutorial.
But you will make more.
I had no time to make. I was actually reached out to by the Lake Champlain Monster Festival, which is like in Vermont. And it's a fairly big deal. So they reached out to me like, hey, we want to have you as a spot on here. And at first it was like, can you do this thing? Or you just kind of say hi. You know, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And then they came back and like, you know what? If you could actually create like an entirely new cocktail for this and give us a video tutorial, we will actually give you your own special spot in the festival.
Nice.
So, but I had like 2 weeks to get it done.
That's impressive. That's really impressive.
And so I was like learning entirely new programs and how to do everything. Yeah, so it's really not that professional looking by any means, but I did what I could in such little notice.
I followed you. I subscribed because I'm eager to see what you will develop into in the future. So what you have now is not an indication of where you will be with it, and I'm eager to see that journey.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get the ball rolling real good on it.
You should hear my first few podcast episodes. Oh, 104 now. I think I've gotten a hang of it finally. So, also, if people want to buy some of your resin art or a dick lamp, they can go to Etsy and it's Etsy.com/shop/Rebel Scum Handmade, which is another great play on words. I commend you on that.
I have my moment.
But beyond that, like I said, thank you for coming on. I've enjoyed this. When you get the Cryptid Bartender going again, I think that we should probably have you back on, and then we will maybe I don't know if Jessica will do this, but I am a neat whiskey guy. Like I like my whiskey. I like it neat. I will buy stupid whiskeys or different drinks, and if I can't drink it on its own, I don't keep it. Like that's just kind of how I function. But I will make a mixed drink if you make one, and we can come back and try that at some point.
I have done that before. I did actually do that on someone else's podcast a while back. It was a Halloween episode, so I created this whole new haunting themed drink it was based on La Llorona, and it was like a Bloody Mary michelada type thing going on. And they loved it. It went really, really well. So yeah, I've done that once before, and I'd be happy to do it again.
Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I'll do that.
And so with that, is there anything else you want to share with people before I start rattling off our stuff?
Just so everybody knows, I don't just do epoxy art. I also do t-shirts, one of which, if you're watching, I'm wearing right now. And I was going to wear another one that I did, but I still had barbecue sauce on it. So now you get to see this one instead. But I do that. What?
Was it pizza barbecue sauce?
Yes, it was. It totally was. That's why I got the gym horoscope. I talked about pizza.
They're weirdly accurate. I'm saying.
But yeah, I do t-shirts, I do ashtrays and rolling trays. I started doing marijuana stuff before I ever smoked marijuana, so I'm kind of a dirty poser. I do lots of different stuff. I actually sew as well. I do like purses and oven mitts and things like that. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff. So by all means, buy my crap. That'd be great.
Everyone needs to buy your crap and our crap.
Yes, buy our crap. Everybody buy their crap, buy my crap.
And so with that, I'm going to rattle off all of that stuff, and we'll say goodnight. You can hang out while I rattle it off, or you can go. Whatever you want to do, we're fine with. But coming up, we have some cool episodes. Next week, we have Chris Baker from Ink 180 coming on. He is a tattoo artist. I hate tattoos. They're disgusting. No one should ever get tattoos. It's a bad idea. But that's sarcasm. I'm covered in them. But he was just a tattoo artist, and then he started a ministry called Ink 180. And what he does is women who have been captured up into sex slavery, he covers up or removes tattoo brands that the men would put on them for sex trafficking. And he also removes like hate symbols, gang symbols, stuff like that for free for these people who want to get away from that part of their lives. And I think that's beautiful. We'll be talking to him next week about that. Following that, we have Kim Shang to talk about stoicism. Then we're going to talk to Nick Ashley about who the fuck knows what. I have no idea yet. We'll figure it out. And then finally, Nick Pacone is coming back on from Sounds Like Liberty. Then it was Peace Freaks. Now it's the Misfit Family. Very interesting guy. We're going to talk to him about philosophy in general, because we've talked about postmodernism. We will have talked about stoicism, and he studied these things very deeply in the past. And so we're going to do kind of a philosophy roundup and get his thoughts, correct some things that were said wrong by me or Jessica or anyone else who talked about it. We're going to have some fun and probably make dick jokes. That's just what we do. Finally, here's the fun list. Like I said earlier in the show, we started a partnership with Run Your Mouth Coffee. Their bourbon barrel coffee is really good and it smells really great. Jessica, you need to get some. But if you go to rymcoffee.com and use promo code The Mad Ones, you can get 10% off and try that out. And it helps us a little bit, helps keep things going, keeps the old shirt churner moving. We're also on Rockfin at rockfin.com/The Mad Ones. Rockfin is where all of our old catalog is. So if you want to listen to all 104 episodes, Rockfin. If you want to listen to episodes that we have to record early before anyone else hears them, they'll be on Rockfin. We're also on Patreon at it's patreon.com/themadOnes. I'm on Twitter at Cam Harless, and I'm now open again. So I am public, and it's terrifying. But I think I got this job. I think I nailed it. And they told me I got the job. I just need to get the contract.
Have you not done any work for them yet?
Not yet. It's supposed to start Monday.
I've been leaving you alone during the weekday because I think you're working.
Oh no, dude. I am just living my life, my best life. So if you want to follow me on Twitter at Cam Harless, if you want to follow Jessica, it's still at Soup Canarchist. That's where she throws out some shade and talks about how she should be being nice, even though she's being mean currently, and among other things. We have t-shirts. wearethemadOnes.com/store. That's wearethemadOnes.com. You can also listen to our episodes. It's also on iTunes, everywhere else that you have podcatcher. youtube.com/themadOnes. Odyssey, just search for it. We don't have a good link. And then finally, listen to the other shows that I edit and a bunch of other very good shows that we like at mlganetwork.com. And that is it. That's the shilling. The shilling's over. The shilling season is over. So anything you want to share with the people? What's your favorite thing, Jessica, that you learned from this episode?
I have to say all the facts about throwing phalluses in all their various forms. Really, like, if you're not watching our podcast, you're missing out on so many facts. Dong-shaped facts.
Yeah. Dong-shaped facts. I've got it. You have a dong-shaped hole in your heart that needs to be filled. But with that, we love you guys. Thank you for listening, watching, sharing. Please share, subscribe, like, push us out there. We're trying to build something, and I think this is really cool. We have fun. You should share the fun with others. With that, I appreciate you. And in the meantime, don't do anything that's going to get you arrested, especially if it's stupid. Peace.